Well, good morning. Estimated costs, roof timber. So today we're going to be working on the all the roof timber and how that actually works. We've got trusses, we've got all those different parts, and I guess probably what I should do is actually just do a little quick read through here from 5, where it says we consult the main plans for bracing. Then we use the roof truss list amended to calculate the required trusses, and quickly I will show you that. Pretty simple. Over here, this is what any carpenter would expect to see, the truss list, and what we're mainly concerned about is this column here. So if I was to just grab hold of that for the moment and turn it yellow, because that's our most important component. Now, these figures are not 100% correct, so that's a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is shut this down. So I had actually pulled out a sheet. I want to save my changes. No, I don't want to. So what I'm going to have to do is open up from in here. So there are 3 files that we will need to today to complete this section. So if we click on to our list through here, which is pretty microscopic, the first thing that we need to actually look at is roof timber blank for class. Okay, roof truss, and also the roof layout. Okay, which is really quite important, because we can actually have a look at that right now. And what I'll do is I'll just save that so that I can open it up. And the other thing that we've got to do, of course, it's not a downloaded file, which is a sod. So what I have to do is just go straight through here with all my hundreds of files, download, and double click on here. Right, now as soon as I get that, this part up here is actually coming into play, and so we can just go under view, rotate view, and counterclockwise. Okay, so this is just a bare bones plan. Initially, what would actually happen for any estimator is he would be confronted with this, and then it's his job to calculate all of the trusses, all of the ancillary timber, and there's lots of things in here that aren't even complete. Okay, it looks like it's complete, but it's not. And so things such as these lines here indicate ceiling joists. These lines here are also ceiling joists right through. The black bolded lines are trusses, and these figures here are just simply station points. So the correct point for this truss is from the corner of the stud work, 2 meters 635, to the left hand side of the truss, going that way. And this one, 3235, which you would find would be another 600 more. Then these are just all standard trusses, 1200 apart. The other station point through here, 3235, sounds almost the same as this one, and such as it is. And so straight away, we actually need to sit these into position where they go. We've got some other small trusses down here as well. Our template has got a whole heap of stuff that I have put on there so that you can actually look at it and work it out, and follow along with me, fill it in, and it'll become your working document. So what I'm going to do with this is basically just minimize it. You can actually keep a copy on your computer for the time being, and what I will do is basically, because I don't want too many, but it doesn't matter, they keep coming. All right, what I'm looking for is this one here, and we're going to be working through this unit, and this looks like a whole heap of boxes, which it is, But basically, what we're doing is working out all of the layouts, all of the lengths, and how we would actually do that. And so we're actually going to be using Staines, which is a roofing calculator. And if you are estimating, you need to know how a roof goes together. Now, a truss roof is much simpler than a cut roof in regards to working out. And so to give you a bit of an indication, our calculating for estimated costs us over 3 weeks. The design timber frame homes unit that I teach, the students there actually learn roofing over 5 weeks and actually become 7 by the time it's totally finished. And that's going from a group that knows absolutely nothing about roofs to actually being able to work out all the composite codes and standards out of the AS 1684. Now, we don't have to go into it that depth, and you know, the main thing is so that you understand how all these parts go together. And so straight away, what I need to do is actually show you a little picture of the plan. And the reason for that is because there's a section in there which is really important. And so here we are, section AA, and you will notice that the trusses here are not like a standard truss where you would actually have the pitch of the rafter around about this height here. And this is called a, here we go, a pole plate truss. And so eastern suburbs, most of the actual homes built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, of that sort of design with those huge big tall gables and stuff like that were actually pole plate construction. And what that meant was that the ceiling joist would run straight along out to the fascia line. Underneath the fascia line and against the brickwork would be small timber battens with 10mm gaps between them so that you had airflow. And generally up the top here, there would be an air vent at one end of the house and an air vent at the other end of the house. And so that was a very efficient way of getting rid of the heat inside the roof so that in the summer nobody cooked. Now, this is an unusual truss. In actual fact, I think I've only seen one other truss that was slightly similar. And so this is quite unique. And so it's great from a teaching point of view because you're being exposed to something that is like, oh, I didn't know that they could actually do trusses like that. And again, it's a creativity thing. One of the last things we do today is actually work on a small veranda, and these posts are 150 by 150, and this is 1800 from the edge of the brickwork through to here. And so we got this smaller veranda, okay, shielding over the doorways and stuff like that. And so we will actually work on that as we go along. Calculation wise, eaves are 300, so that means that we can have our timber running right through to that for trimming. So I'm just going to minimize that, and I'll bring back up the our main sheet. And the first thing I need to do is actually run through some uniqueness that we actually use as carpenters to speed up the process of working out a roof length. And so the first thing that we look up here is Staines ratio method, rafter 30-degree pitch. So 1 meter run, which is referring to the horizontal plane here, this is half a roof. So if we actually put 2 of these back to back, you have a roof. And so, but all we need is this triangle to actually work out the main material for the roof. So what we can do is, first of all, we see up here that 1 meter run in Staines at 30 degrees is 1155, or 1 meter 155. So if I was to turn it to 1 millimeter, that means that whatever span, whatever pitch, we can times that by 1.155 and we will get an accurate rafter length. The hip is different because it's longer, and so it is 1.528, and so there it is over there. So these two very unique little dimensions actually make our life that much easier. So first of all, you should have this at the top of your document anyhow, and you should also have this. So the total span for the roof is 8 meters 869. Half span is 4 meters 435. So if I was to go down here and just drag that along and just turn it on to black, okay, that's half span. That's from here to here, 4 meters 435. And what's so important about that, that then means that we can times 435 by 1.155 and end up with a rafter length. So first of all, let's finish off our triangle. And so there's a whole heap here for 435 run of the rafter. Okay, so that's basically building terminology. The other thing I would like to know is how much is the rise, and we do that by tan degrees by half span. So tan 30 times 4435 will give you this figure, 2 meters 560. And I have taught hundreds of students this simple method to actually work out roofing. And so you could use a roofing app. There are a lot of those that are really handy. And there's two ways that we could do this. We could use cosine and stuff like that. But ultimately, let's see what our rafter length is. And it is 5 meters 122. So black again, and we just click onto that, and we're quite, oh, it didn't do it. Okay, get used to this. The mouse sometimes carries on like a pork chop. All right, so there we have it. Here's our rafter triangle. Okay, and so the key pertinent information that we need to know is that the length of the rafter from here to here is basically 5122. Now, if we had a traditional truss roof, you would actually have to include an overhang. But in this case, it's not that at all. Okay, so it is just 5122. So straight away, we can basically go into here and move this across, and again, turn that to 5122, and we go, yep, thank you very much. There's our total length. So the procedure is simply this, that we know that the total length of the rafter is 5122, but we have to cut it to fit in position here. That means we need a little bit longer, usually around about 300 mil, and the nearest dimension to that is 5.4, or 5 meters 400. And so straight away, our longest rafter, which is here, the trusses already accommodate that, are actually a timber ordering length of 5.4. And that's what we're chasing. So in a few easy steps, we can actually calculate those. So now I need to actually run past with you another formula, but it's really quite simple, and that is when a angle is 45 degrees, that when you move from here to here, two spacings, 6, 12, there it is there, and project a line through to there, that distance is 1200. So what that actually means, and what I should do, is I'll probably get out with our little calculator just so that it becomes even more clear. And I'll just grab that. There it is up in the corner. We'll just drag it down there. Let's just put in 4435, and we minus 1200, and we end up with 3235 being this length here. Okay, so let's have a look, see if we got this right. 3235, and we're going to do each one of these. And so now I can see straight away that if I took 1200 off of this, mental arithmetic means that we would end up with 2 meters and 35. We don't need to do a calculation like that. Teach yourself mental arithmetic. It'll get you out of jail often. Now, if we took 12 off of 20, we end up with 835. So let's do that. Okay, and a lifetime of working on the benches and stuff like that. This has just become pretty much common sense to me how this actually works. Now, we're not going to do any of these yet. We're going to actually do these through here. Now, the other thing that we can do whenever we're estimating is when we have a known distance on a plan, and we also have a completion point, like for example, this rafter reaches about sort of halfway here, and this is 600, so this would end up being 900 less. Okay, so we can bring up our calculator, clear it, put in 4435 minus 900 equals 3535, and I should have put something like that. So let's see, 3535. All right, I didn't have to get out a scale rule or anything else like that. I just know that this distance between a ceiling joist and a truss is 600. Okay, the maximum span that plasterboard will span, and so we just simply go into half. Now, when we're looking at this fellow here, this is a little bit of a more difficult one, because we go past a little bit. We could actually say, rightio, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit. Let's have a look and see what I actually came up with. 2835. Okay, and you could use a scale rule as long as your plan's the correct scale. Okay, and you'll notice my plan up here is set at 100%, and we could use our measuring tool through there, as long as I had this set correctly, because this is a different plan than last week. And you could actually do some calculations, do what we did last week, where we actually clicked on the measuring tool, clicked on the parameters, and then a known point, like from outside the wall to outside the wall, was 10 meters and 69. And so that means that if we used a scale of 1 mil on our measuring parameter to 90 or 92, somewhere between there, we'll end up with a total length. And so a lot of students would actually get that working and then measure up all these sizes. Okay, but mathematically we can do it down there just as quick. It's not really that difficult. Now, you'll notice that this is actually a ridge through here. So we have one at 2835, and this one here is 2835 as well. All right, so we're looking good here, and then for whatever reason I managed to actually lose this one, so I'll just do it again. All right, okay, so we've got our main dimensions right through here. Now all of these are times 1.155. Okay, and so I'll just do a couple and then I'll fill in the rest. So if I just grab the calculator, clear 3235 by 1.155, and we end up with 3736 being a rafter length here. Let's have a look. 37, whoop, there it is there. Okay, so you can see how that actually fits together. Now, 3.7, we might get a 3.2, a 3.9. That'll probably go close. So if I go there, or we go up to 4.2. So I've chosen to use 3.9 there, and there we have it. That's our ordering links down here. All right, so each of these change. So you can basically go through and do each one of these as we work our way through how to actually calculate all these different sizes. And so 2 meters and 35 by 1.155, and you can go through like that, 2,350, and we've got an 835. Ooh, hang on a minute, let's go there, and that's 964. All right. Okay, so once you do these, now we've got a 2,350. 2,4 is probably a bit tight. Thinking of a piece of timber that's going this way, and you've got to cut a pitch angle, and it would not be long enough. So this is probably going to be 2.7, and we can actually go through. Now, I'm not expecting you to know all these things off the top of your head. It's not possible. And so from an estimating point of view, this is just a quick way to work out all our sizes. 964, probably 12, we'll get away with 1200. Okay, there it is there. Now that means that this one here, 1200, and this one here will be exactly the same. So we just go there. I've just shortened it so it'll fit because it gets a bit busy. And this one here, 2.7. So let's have a look at that. There it is there. And what we've got, right, it's pretty much this end that we're going to finish off. All right, 3,535 times 1.155. You can do that with your calculator just to check, and we end up with 4 meters and 82, 2,835. All right, again, each of these, pretty simple. All right, so these are basically rafter lengths. So where would this be handy? To the carpenter who is going to cut those rafters on site. Okay, he would love having a list like this already worked out for him, and then he would just check it, and once he found out that 1 or 2 fitted, he'd just do all the rest and hope that they're okay. All right, so 4 meters and 82, probably get rid of either a 4.2 or a 4.5. 4.2. Now this is where we actually look at different sizes. 3.2, so we go up to a 3.6 and another 3.6. So in little more than 15-20 minutes, we've actually managed to establish, number one, that this is a pretty smart tool that we could use. So if you were going to do roofing and doing any calculating or anything like that, this is what you could use. All right, so we can actually get that all sorted out. So what I'm going to do is actually leave this section for you to do the same. The only thing you need to do is to work out the calculation. And funny, this thing is actually stretched. I'm going to actually drag it to there. All right, and it won't drag because I've got these too close. All right, so if we were going to look at the length of this and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, if I took that, it would come to about here. That's 24. So I reckon that we'd end up using perhaps 2700. Let's see what I have done there. Okay, 24 is not enough because 4 spacings, and this is 4 and a bit. So we just round it up and basically put in 2700. Now the reason I'm doing that, that'll be a start point for you, and then you can work out down this way and work it down. Whatever you work here goes here. Whatever you work out there goes there. And again, same thing, times 1.155. There it is there. And we end up with 31118. So I'm pretty sure this raft is going to be 3.6 in length. That's the prime rafter. All right. I might actually even shift this up a little bit there. Okay. All right. So you've got 2700, 3 meters 118, and 3600. So what I would like to see from your work is for you to actually fill those in. And I don't know whether or not I actually filled that in. Probably not, because it's fairly small, but we can actually say over here, okay, run. Okay, and just a comma. Rafter length, space, L, and O length. Okay, ordering length. Now what I will do with this, just to make this fit into there, because I want that to go there, is go back. And of course it's not going to do that, is it? Let's get rid of that. I want that to be LENGTH. If it didn't do that, sort of a thing. Hang on, there, let's go there. Right, and we can just come back a bit. All right, so here we have it. Run, rafter length, ordering length. All right. Okay, so now let's have a look at the hips. Now they're interesting characteristics. They have a lot, because they actually span to actually get to this point from here to here at 45 degrees is a bit of a job. So Staines is the only calculator that covers this ratio. So what we do, we go 4435, and let's grab our calculator again and clear it. 4435 times 1.528 equals 6 meters 776. Now a standard size is generally 6.9 if you can get them, or 7.2. And so I'm going to actually lean on the area of using 7.2. And so what we can actually do here is actually just put in 7.2. It's a hip. Now, this distance right out here to the actual, this line here is actually 7.2. This distance and this distance combined is also 7.2. It's just that it's cut, and so there's a variety of functions. Now, the other thing that we could also look at is where we had these two dimensions. There's a little dimension in the middle. Okay, maybe this one here, I reckon. 4.2 is the hip that runs from here to here. Okay, so we can actually go through. So how did we get that? We went 2700 times 1.528, and that gives us 4.2. Okay, so once we have that, we need to say that, rightio, well, this is the same. So let's have a look. 4.2, and I'll put H on the end there just to clear up any ambiguity. And so you can actually see both of these are covered. All right. Now, we've also got a valley here, which is 4.2 as well. Okay, and probably, I can't remember, 2.1 is this trimmer, all right, which is consistent. It's a smaller roof, and so that's not the valley. So what I'm going to do is go up here, and right on that corner, it's going to be a bit of a squeeze, but we're going to go like that, and all right, it's going to be a 4.2, and we go 4.2 and a V. Okay, now that's indicating that this is a valley. Okay, the rest are hips. Now there's a valley here, and there's actually a valley here. And so what we can actually do, take 4.2 from 7.2, all right, and we're going to end up with this section from there to there being 3 meters long. So let's just put that through there. All right, it is actually a hip. I'm not going to label it, but you can see verbally. So 4.2 plus 3 meters equals 7.2. All right. Across over here, we've covered each one of those. Now we can actually have a look at this part over here. So that means that this distance from here to here will be 4.2, and this distance from here to here will be 3 meters. Now, there's not much room to do this here, so I'm only going to do it here. And so let's double click this one, 3 meters. Let's highlight it black, and this one over here, 4.2. All right, so you can see the two differences, 4.2 and 3. So all of these are the same. So essentially, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 hips. The only thing is, there's a split between here. If we were just to shift this over, that would be exactly the same length as that one there, which is pretty handy. And so that works out rather well. So over here, let's see what I've got here. Right, 7.2 up here and up here. And it breaks into 2 sections. That's up to the carpenter to cut that. It's not up for us to worry about the angles and stuff like that. So there's such a thing as a hip plumb cut and a hip side cut and all those types of things. They're factors that if you had a look at a Staines book, it would actually tell you what those degrees and angles are. And they're quite unique. So your job, fill in the rest of these. Okay, that will be real tickety-boo. I'll be quite happy to see that. Just hang on a second. I just got to get rid of some notifications. They just get in my way, not your way. I've got a little sidebar here that tells me what's going on, and it's suddenly having a bit of a heart attack. All right, so if you could actually fill each one of those in, you're going to end up with this, and this is all the information. And just think of order length, rafter length, the run or span from here to here. All right, now we're going to scroll down a little bit, and we've got some more information in regards to the plan. And we have a term called outriggers, and outriggers are the timbers that sit on top of a smaller truss here, backspan over this way, and the rule in the AS 1684, the actual overall span from this truss to here, okay, is 300 right through there. And so that means that 2 times 300 is the backspan. Okay, so each of these, all right, are 1.2 long. Now, the distance apart from plan view is 600, which is the maximum span for HardieFlex for the verge overhang. So that means that we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 here, so 8. So let's double click this, and you've got 8 at 1.2. And they're important parts that we need to actually have a look. Whoops, didn't want to do that, so I have to do it again. My little Bizzo is having a bit of a heart attack. Over here, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, the same thing, 6 at 1.2. And the good thing about it is that, all right, that covers all our material through here, covers our material through here. Now we do have one rafter that actually comes across here. Now if we have a look, it finishes here and it starts there. So if you were to really look at it and said that's one, this is not quite 600, the rest of 600 is here, so we'd probably get close to 1200, but just to be sure, we've actually elevated it in distance up to 2.1. Okay, you would rather have the right length than the short length, and this one here for whatever reason has disappeared as well, so we'll go there. All right, let's have a look. Yep, okay. All right, so we're looking pretty good. Now we do have quite an amount of other material in the roof that we need to cover. And so first of all, we actually have ST, which is short for stabilizer, and we have 3 of those. They run from this truss through to this truss here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and 3 of them. Okay, we also have some hangers. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 hangers, and also a 4th hanger over here. We do have another stabilizer this way that's 6 meters long, and we also have another 2 stabilizers which actually cover this area here. 1, 2, 3, so probably around about 1800 long. Pretty much that is the ancillary timber. Now, to save a whole heap of time and rewriting, what I've done to this one is just gone right through here and highlighted this into black, and first of all, ceiling joists. And so what we actually have is a length of 8 meters 269, which is the span, okay, from here right down to here. Okay, maybe this one's easier, from here right through to here. Now, why do we need to do that? This becomes actual trim in between here for our eaves. It's all flat like you saw earlier. And so how do we add those up? So we start off right from this point here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we add one more to make sure that we've got all our little cross trim along here. So that's 12 at 8.4. Okay, so that's the ceiling joist for a large bulk of the area. Covers it easily. Now, this distance, if you look on your plan, is 4.2 meters, and we start from here and we go 1, 2, 3, and again we have one additional one which cuts up and runs the opposite direction, and so that's 4 at 4.2. All right, now we have one ceiling joist that runs through here. That's a 4.8. We have one ceiling joist that runs through here. That's a 2.7. And finally, we actually have 4 at 2.4, okay, that we need to actually take into consideration around about. Now, that's a good question. My brain's frying here. Where did I get the 4 at 2.4? It'll come to me in a minute. So, let's just cover those to make sure that we actually have enough ceiling joists. Probably, here, yes, here they are. 1, 2, 3, but we also need another one the other side of the wall, 4 at 2.4. This is actually 1880 in between, and so it's easy enough for us to run these right through for additional trimming. All right, now there's a couple of jack ceiling joists that we've allowed for, and so we got 14 at 0.6 and 9 at 0.6, and that covers that. Now, cross trim, that's the length of the walls that run the same direction as trusses. And what you do is you take that overall length and you divide that by 0.6. How did we get the length for the stabilizers? There were 17 spaces at 600, so 17 by 6, and there was 3 of them. And so 17 by 6 comes into about 10.1 or something like that, and we just times it by 3. Garage, 2 at 1.5, 1 here, 1 here. Robe, 1 at 6 meters, which runs from here right through to there. Now, finally, our last section, hangers, 4 at 2.4. And so what we basically have is 1, 2, 3, and I think I've added 1 additional one for down here. So 4 all up. And so that is all our timber for basically making the roof structure. And that works out rather well. So once we have that, now you are at a extreme advantage to me, because number one, what actually happens now is we need to actually fill in our takeoff. So once you have completed all your sizes through here and made sure that all these boxes are full, and I have no idea what I meant for this to be, it's just blank. I think this one here was student name, okay, and I'm unsure of that one. I'm sure it was a great idea at the time. All right, so now that we've actually got to this point, now what we need to do is actually bring up our Word document, and there's a few things that we need to look at. And so first of all, if you looked at your, where is it? If we looked at our roof truss layout, this tells us all the lengths and tells us that T1 there are 6, T2, all of these are all 1s, and then truss 15 standard, okay, there's 2, and then total amount of trusses, and we have 23. All right, and so you fill out your takeoff, okay, to be like that. Now, when we get up to here is where we start to get into those rafter lengths. And what I'm going to have to try and do is actually bring up a shortened or a small section of it, and instead of actually letting it take over the whole screen, I want to actually go down to there and drag it down. And I don't know how I'm going to go here. All right, we know that we've got a 1.2 here, okay, and we've got a 1.2 there, and so basically straight away we've got 2 at 1.2. So if I, whoops, let's go across here and again change this to black. All right, all up on the job you'll find there's 6 at 1.2. I don't think there's any 1500s. Let's have a look at these and see if they are. I can't see anything. I can't see anything there. There's something here. So let's have a look at this one. There's 5 at 2.1. All right, over here you can go through, and I reckon there's some here too. All right, I don't think there's any 24s, but if there is, no, it's not showing. All right, I don't think we had any 3s. I think we had 2s. There it is there. Did we have any 3.9s? Let's have a look. I think we did. All right, and we certainly had a 5.4. Okay, so there's all our sizes. Okay, so and depending on your, yep, I don't think there's any there. No, there's nothing there. Okay, so 6/12s, 7.2. So let's grab that and click onto there. Pretty handy using mental arithmetic if you practice it. And so here, 2 meters by 5, 10 meters, 100 by 5, 10.5. All right, so we can actually go straight through like that. And we don't have to worry about actually using a calculator often. 2.7 times 2, all right, 5.4. Let's go through here. And again, just click on here. Here's our 5.4. This is 3. All right, now 3.6 by 3. Sometimes, all right, it might be 3 3s are 9. Okay, we got that, 9 meters. 6 3s are 18, 9, 10.8. So back over here, let's go along, 10.8. All right, always doing this stuff. Now this is 3.9, and there it is there. And the last one, okay, 5.4. So basically you guys can add that up, and that is your rafter length total. Now, how many rafters have we got? 6, 5 is 11. Okay, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18 it should be. So we go across over here and just do that. And we've got 18 rafter lengths. It's a bit of an irrelevant thing, this, but let's just say that we had to order brackets for those rafters and we needed 18 brackets. There it is there. It's not necessarily all the time that sort of stuff happens, but when you're doing the takeoff, and for whatever reason, hang on. If I was to go down here to that and then try to get this, it's a bit of a pain. All right, there it is there. That's our first part. All right, now ceiling joists, you can carry on, do exactly the same. Go through 2400, how many 24s, how many 2.7s, how many 8.4s, and you can see that I've got some of those filled in, and you can follow those through. Fill that out, tell us how many linear meters you've got and how many ceiling joists in total. All right, ceiling trim. Now, I have done over the years lots of this ceiling trim, and I've decided that I would leave this one in here. So all I want you to do is to 611s are 66. So straight away we can just go straight. Oh, well, didn't want to do that, did it? So I don't know why that is. Let's have a look at through there and just click that, whether it's there. Nope. So 611s, okay, 6.6. So let's just put that in, 6.6, and just a space, okay. 6.5s, 30. All right, so that's actually 3 meters, okay, and a space. All right, just so that it formats okay. 6/8 are 48. So, and if you're unsure of all that and you don't do much mental arithmetic, it's a good time to learn. Practice it. 6/5s are 30, so that's going to be 3 meters. So 3.0 space, and so on and so forth. You can do the rest. Okay, and then once you've done that, add those all up. Total linear meters of ceiling trim, and the number of them, which is adding up all of those numbers. All right, hangers. Now, we've got some 2.4s, we know that, and they're in 2 sections purposely. So we have 3, which is over on the far left-hand side of the plan, and we've got 1 on the other side of the plan. So that's going to be, okay, 1. Now, stabilizers, we had 10.2 meters long, which was 17.6 by 600, and there is 3 of them. So we can just go across here like that and click onto that. There's 3, okay, and they're 10.2 long. So 10.2 by 3 is 30.6. All right, so we can just go straight through to there like that and click on that. Lo and behold, 30.6. Now we've got 1 stabilizer here. So this is just going to be 6 meters. Nothing too difficult here. How many 2.4 stabilizers have we got? All right, and we actually had, let's have a look and see. I can't remember. 2. So 2 times 2.4, 4.8. So we can actually go through like that and just put that in. And all you're doing is actually setting up the numbers 2.4 by 3, 4, 8, or 6, and then 3 4s are 12, 7.2. So again, here's that mental arithmetic coming into it. It's handy. 2.4. I once did a job for an accountant, and for me, it was like I had to use my calculator. He worked it out in his head in a split second. I couldn't believe it. All right, once you've double checked those, go through, put in the total amount of hangers, okay, and then the number of hangers. So 3, 4, plus 3 is 7, 8, 10. And that would be what you'd have here. Let's have a look, see if I'm right. There it is. All right, gable sprockets. Now, we just did that a few minutes ago. So there was one side that was 8, and there was one side that was 6. And so we just go straight across like that. There it is there. You can do the adding up. All right. So the last thing that we have to work on is around the veranda. Now the veranda is 1800 wide. The veranda is actually less than that, but we'll just actually use a little bit of that, a bit of license, and go straight through like that and go rightio. 2.1 is more than adequate. That just allows for the fact that the veranda is on a pitch, on an angle. All right, and so that's easily covers that. So over here, you would put the total rafter length, 2.1 by 13. And so we could actually go straight over to here and work that out. And you've got 27.3 lineal meters of rafters there, 90 by 45. Okay. Now, the actual width of the veranda is 7 meters 240, and so what we would actually do for that, and I'm just double checking here, I'm going to click onto that, drag this up, and we're going to go up a couple of sheets. Rightio, there it is there. The veranda fits in here from brick to brick, and it's actually 7 meters 240. All right, so we would actually then add 300 to that, so that becomes, we'll just say 7.5. That would be more than adequate. Okay, tells us that we've got 2 150 timber posts, and so that covers that really well. So first of all, over here, back plate, let's go through like that, click onto here, 7.5. Ordering size, 7, you can't get a 7240. All right, so now once you've actually done that, you can actually put your final total into here, and you're looking pretty good adding that all up. All right, now this has no relevance. Excuse me. Okay, we've got a veranda beam. The veranda beam is 120 by 45. sort of could be this long, couldn't it? All right, let's just see if that's what I've done. More than likely I would have. There it is there. So over there, you can fill that in. Veranda posts. So we actually have two. I think we should actually use maybe a 2.4 or a 2.7. So there's two at 2.7. Total length over here, 5.4. Down here, the number of, and we actually have two. All right, hips and valleys. Now, we have already established off of the plan that we actually had 4 at 7.2 of hips. Okay, so we can just go into there, 4 at 7.2 and 2 at 4.2 for the hips and 1 valley, but we've just joined the whole 3 together because the valley and the hip is the same thing, the same cut. It's just the function is different. So for us, we've got 2 here, and we should actually have another. Oh no, that's right, I did those 2 there. All right, so let's have a look over here, and you can double check that. 8.4, 28.8, and I don't think there's any here. And our total, all right, when we add that up, 37.2. So this is really important. Now, last night, this is the last item that we're going to do this week, is how many ridges are there? And I had all sorts of answers coming from the students, and the reason being is because what they look at, and I'm going to increase that in size, and we go, well, oh, there's a ridge here, and there's another ridge there, and there's a ridge here, and I go, yep, that's absolutely correct. But all ridges on a truss roof are formed by the roof battens. They're not actually a piece of timber in continual length. So on this roof, there is only 2 ridges, and they're both really tiny. One that runs from here right through to there, and another that runs from here right through to here. Why would we do that? So we actually have 2 lengths of timber, which we haven't calculated yet. Basically, they are 1200 long. Okay, so let's have a look at our fancy roof plan. There it is there. I want to actually go back up. Do you notice here and here and here and here are the barges? And so they have to have a ridge for the barges to actually nail to. And if you wanted a more formal picture, there it is there, there it is there, and they have to actually fit to there, and they nail to that. You can't actually have a barge just hanging off of a roof batten. Okay, it's just not strong and not good practice. So we can just minimize that. So straight away, 12.2, how many? Okay, the grand total, right click. Okay, oh, I didn't select, I think I lost it then. There, all right, so straight over there, 2.4. So the ridge total length is 2.4 and number 2. Okay, so this week I want you to get up to that section there. Make sure that your sheet is filled out and saved, because you will be submitting that along with your takeoff. Next week we're going to be working on the following things, which will take a while: barges, fascias, ridge caps, and battens. Okay, how this all works. And so there's a bit of work involved in this, and so that's the 3rd plan. Now when we get to this point here, okay, any working sheets will be put in between each of the segments, so that when you upload it, it will actually come to me and I can see your working documents. It's an evidence thing. If there's ever an audit, your work has to be produced as to how I passed you for actually doing this unit. And so if we were to go right back and to concrete, to reinforcing, what would actually happen under each of these, there's spaces that we can actually put those separate bits. And so you can see where we worked on carpentry, when we finished plumbing, and we actually did those lovely layout sheets. What you will do is insert a sheet in between there for the plumbing. Okay, when we get to the reinforcing, you would insert a sheet into there. Now, what we're going to do, and I'll explain that in detail at the end of next week, is we're going to cut and paste this section of the takeoff and put it into a separate Word document, which will be your upload document. But it'll be far more consistent than what I've had in the past. And that makes life much easier when everybody follows through and make sure they do all their work as the way that we've set it through. All right, so today, that is basically the section about the roof, the trusses, and all those thoughts. We're not the carpenters. We are just the people supplying the timber. And so what we have to do is we don't need to actually supply a perfect amount. We have to supply slightly more, not so that it sends the builder broke because we've ordered 50 pieces of timber instead of 5, but basically made sure that it's in an organized fashion that anybody could follow it. And I guess if I was to show you some of the stuff I've received over the years, that has just been like a dog's breakfast, because that's often how takeoffs are done. But you know what? You cannot really do that correctly. It just ends up being a great big mess. Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to have a look at this, work on it, make sure that by the end of the weekend or end of the week, you're up to this, because next week we've got another lot, and then we're going to be pretty much, we're on schedule, and that's a good place to be. Okay, thank you very much.